Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, I've got another weekly Forex analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video, guys. Like always, we'll be going through each pair, breaking down what happened this week and potentially what could happen next week as well. But with all that said, guys, let's get straight into it. Okay, so up first we've got Euro USD. So for this pair, a bit of a pop to the upside this week, but mostly we had downside coming into Friday. We had a bit of a move to the upside, but overall the week was quite bearish. I did say last week that we could be looking for a test of 1.12, nice psychological level. Again, some profit taking could be happening around this area, and we did see a bit of a move to the upside from 1.12. So we're looking a little bit bullish now for Euro USD. We still do have to respect the bearish trend. If we do jump onto the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the momentum is still with the bears, and you can clearly see we're still in a bearish trend here. This is the low, this is the high, this is a new low, potentially new high for a new low to the downside. So potentially we could still turn bearish from here. You can see we're putting some wicks in the 4H, so we are losing momentum. We could roll over it again, but this is quite an aggressive move to the upside, and since we're holding 1.2, we potentially could be seeing the market retrace some of that bearish momentum we've seen over the past few days. We've got a clean area of support here that we still haven't retested, which I do think the market will eventually come back and retest. Whether it's next week or a few weeks after, I'm not too sure, but I do think Euro USD will be revisiting that area soon enough. So we'll be paying attention to this resistance here. This was the last lower high the market formed here in the 4H. If we can pull back into this area, start putting some wicks into this area, start holding it as support, I do think it will be a nice chance for us to get long, and I can see Euro USD pushing to the upside. We can target some of these areas. Potentially could go all the way up there. I'm not too sure if I see Euro USD doing that within 1 week, but we could start targeting some areas up here. This resistance taken across around the 1.13700 could be a nice target, and also this area here, which was a nice support here, which price broke through, never retested, around 1.14400. So I can see price pushing to some of these levels if we do hold this as support. And then you could be looking at some long opportunities from here for Euro USD next week, but that is only if we do hold this area. If not, price could well form a lower high, just like it did over here after that nice bullish run, and just roll over again to the downside. So it depends what Euro USD wants to do. If it holds the area, we look for buys. If it actually breaks through, we wait for the retest, and we'll most likely will head down to lows, and probably some new lows as well. So yeah, it depends what price action we get. Right now looks like we're starting to roll over after that bullish momentum. We'll see what happens here on the test. If we get some nice rejection, look for buys. If not, we break straight through, we'll flip the buyers to bearish again. We'll wait for the retest, sells back into those lows, and then potentially new lows as well. So that is the plan for Euro USD for next week. See what happens at this area at 1.12600, which is these wicks here on the 4H taken across. And if we hold it, look for buys. If not, we'll probably heading back down to some new lows for Euro USD for next week. Okay, so up next we've got USD JPY. So USD JPY this week, I was actually expecting the market to roll over, mainly because what we're doing on the weekly time frame was still hanging on to a very key level of resistance. As you can see, if I quickly draw this in, a lot of wicks into this area, the market keeps melting to the downside from that same area, and you see we're still holding it. And in fact, this week again, we still held it. Massive push to the upside. Turns out it was a false move on the weekly, and price closed bearish there as a bearish shooting star pattern. So I'm expecting this week for the market to roll over still. This move here I'm just treating as a massive fake out, taking out a lot of stop losses. Again, people buying into that, and then a massive collapse to the downside there on Friday, just before the weekly candle close. So I'm expecting price to roll over to the downside with these targets here for next week. So that'll be the first target. Price is really not too far away. Second target there, and third target will be this low. Again, I'm not too sure if price will do this within 1 week, but we will be selling towards these targets for the next few days. So for USD JPY, looking for some retracement first, because that is a big fall to the downside. As you can see there, if I get a fib out, look at 0.382, 50%, and then 0.618 all the way up there. So we could still see retracement into some of these areas before the market does collapse. Again, looking at this area here is the first place I will be looking to sell the market. Nice support. We broke through, never got the retest. So that is my first point of interest. And then we'll be selling it back down into 112. If I just show you an example, again, we'll be waiting for confirmations, not just blindly selling at that level. We'll wait for price to show me that we are rejecting it, and then I'll look to enter some trades. Or if we do retrace slightly higher up, we do also have this area of interest here. As you can see, we've been putting some nice wicks there as resistance and also wicks there as support. So just generally this area here between 114,400 and 114,700, we'll be looking for sells up there as well. And then targets down at 112. So again, if the market wants to retrace slightly deeper into the 0.5 or 0.618, we'll be looking at this area, slight retracement. If the market can't really find that bullish momentum and the bears are just too strong, probably get a retest of this area where we look to enter our shorts and target 112 down there as well. So only looking for sells this week for USD, not bothered about the buys, just looking to sell the market down. Hopefully you can get some retracement in at the start of the week, and then we'll look to sell this one back down into 112. Okay, now we're going to take a look at USD CAD. So USD CAD, we saw some more bullish continuation this week, which was expected. I did say the market holds above this area here, which we broke through quite early on in the week. Actually, no, we broke through last week, sorry, and I said if we can hold this as support, I'm expecting price to continue back into the highs up here. As you can see, we actually pushed through those highs. So overall, the market did what expected. If we got back underneath this level, then I would have been looking for a push into this support down there, where we found support previously. However, we failed to do that, so we got the continuation to the upside. So overall, USD CAD is looking quite bullish, but we are coming into an overall area where price finds it hard to sustain itself and then decides to collapse. As you can see, spiked into there, big collapse, spike into there, collapse, spike into there, very, very big collapse, and we're there again. So overall, coming to a very strong area of daily resistance. I'm not saying the market is going to collapse now, but if we do start to see the market have a hard time of pushing through this, start to see some wicks like we've done in the past, the market will most likely fall to the downside, and we can be looking at some sells, because we have been pushing to the upside quite strongly for USD CAD. We've seen some slight retracement with those bearish days there, but nothing too major. So we could be seeing the market take a bit of a breather and see some downside. So we'll be looking at sells now. Not really too interested in buys for USD CAD buying into this area. If we can break above and start putting wicks to the downside, then yes, we could be looking at more continuation. But because this market's had quite a big bull run, it does need to take a little bit more of a breather and also come into a very strong area of daily resistance, that supply, and coming into that nice psychological level of 1.28, which the market is still failing to really break through. So looking at sells for USD CAD, but I do understand that the market is still very much in a bullish trend. So we do have to be careful selling this, because we are selling against the trend, so to speak of. So do need to be a bit aware of that. Wait for the market to give us signs that we are turning and then get in. Don't just look to get in just because we are at resistance. We've also got this nice trendline confluence here that of connecting these wicks here. So first, second, third test here. We're kind of closed above, but we haven't really broken it too much. We could easily come back below. So we'll be looking to see if we can hold this trend line there in confluence with that resistance, and we'll be looking at some sells to the downside for next week. Not really too bothered about the buys. Yes, we could still push on, and if we do, we just won't take our sells, of course. So you can see the market's had quite a nice push. It's starting to slow down with these wicks here, so we'll be looking for shorts around this area, around that 1.28 area there as well. Let me just delete the daily area. So we'll be looking for sells around here, coming into that nice psychological level. If we can put some more wicks into there and maybe a nice bearish engulfing or something, we can look at some shorts, take that to the downside, and looking for a push back down to where that move just came from, which is this area here. So looking for shorts for USD CAD. Again, guys, wait for confirmation before you do short, but from 1.28 looking for a move back down into 1.26 400 for next week.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, mostly consolidation this week, as you can see. However, Friday we had quite a big move to the upside. Coming into the week was looking for some bearish continuation. We had some nice support here on the left, which the market held. Gave us a nice move to the upside, formed our previous low. We broke through this. We were holding as resistance, was looking for the market to roll over. However, it didn't sustain and the market closed above there, quite bullish on Friday. So this could be a sign that Euro Pound wants to see some more upside. Again, I'm not going to say reversal because you can see the bearish trend here is very, very choppy, and we need to see a lot more than that to expect the market now to reverse and turn bullish. So we might be seeing a bit more upside, but the market is still overall bearish. So won't be looking to hold any longs for too long. But if we can see some retracement coming down on the 4H back into this level of resistance, which we did break through and never got the retest of, we can be looking at some buying opportunities to take this higher. We do have support up here, which will be time resistance, which we never really got a retest of. We broke through this area, had quite a big move down, so looking for price to come back and retest that area at 0.85200. So the market has already put some quite nice, exaggerated wicks to the upside down. The 4H is showing us signs that it's struggling to push on and probably will come back down. So if that is the case, we can be looking at buys on the retest of this area. You can see previously the market held this area, big move up. So if we can come down, we potentially could do the same and see some upside into those areas, or at least just a push back into where these wicks are here for Euro Pound. So we'll be looking at buys for Euro Pound if we can hold this level. We'll firstly target this area if it is going to be a high, or we can look to target 0.85200 up there. If we do get back below this, then simply can turn bearish again and look at sells back down into these lows, potentially further. But after that move here, it does look like the market wants to see some bit more upside. So favouring buys for Euro Pound next week. Hopefully we can see some retracement back into the 0.84200 and buys back into 0.85200. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Aodu USD. So as you can see for this pair, still melting to the downside here since the highs of 0.75500. We've continued to the downside here, and we've almost taken out the lows, as you can see on the left at 0.71, almost taken out those lows. I said last week, if we do break through this support, we most likely will be heading back down to lows. We broke through it, never got the retest, but the market just kept melting. So overall bearish here for AU. I'm expecting the market to take out those lows next week and continue to the downside a bit further. If we're on the weekly time frame, we've got a target here on the left, which is this area here of support where we put some nice wicks into and gave us this massive run to the upside, and I think we will be coming back down to test that support just above 0.7. Really nice psychological level there. So expecting more downside for AU in the next coming days and week. If we can get a test of this area here on the left, because we never got a retest of that, we'll be looking for sells and then take this further to the downside, or we could look for the break and retest of the low of this wick here. That also could provide some nice resistance for that continuation, but the market does need to retrace sooner or later. We potentially might even get a retest of this level here on the left, which we never got a retest of, for us to get some nice entries on for that sell. So there could be some nice levels here if we do decide to retrace up next week. But yeah, the market is looking bearish and I can see more downside. So looking at a retest of this prior low here on the left at 0.71700, we'll be looking for some retracement back into that. Again, we'll be waiting for those confirmations and taking those shorts back into 0.71. Then if you want to, you can look to see if you can continue that trading further all the way down to 0.7, but it might take a few days, potentially even a couple of weeks. So expecting more downside for AU next week. Again, if we can see some retracement into this area here, 0.72200, that will be looking good for some nice sells as well. Really nice key area on the daily, which will be term resistance. So we'll be looking at those sells there as well, but I can only see AU continue to the downside at this rate. So yeah, more downside for AU. Hopefully can get that pullback or that pullback up there, and then we'll look to sell it back down if we do get our confirmations. Okay, so up next we've got NZD CAD. So NZD CAD melted to the downside this week. We had the consolidation for the past few days, and I did say we're probably looking for that breakout either to the upside or to the downside. And if you do break to the downside, we're looking for a move into these lows down here, which we're almost at. So hopefully we can see some retracement coming into the early stage of next week, and we'll be looking at continuations back down to those lows. And I do think we'll probably end up, really testing the support or potentially breaking through this, because the market overall is still putting in these major lower highs. So it does give me the sign that price does want to continue a lot lower. So we're expecting this support here to break eventually, probably not next week, but I do expect to see this support break. But we are looking to sell back down into this area at 0.6200. So going to the 4H, hopefully you can see some retracement higher up. We do have this support here on the left, which would be a really nice area to retrace to, and could look at some sales to take this back down. So that will be the area of preference at 0.87600. But we also do have this area which you can see the market is starting to put some major wicks into. As you can see there on the 4H, really nice wick there, another wick, another wick, another wick. So we're struggling to break through this area. So if the market can test this area a few more times to confirm it as resistance, can actually look for sells from here and take it into the downside, because we might not see that retracement higher. So keep an eye on this level. Again, don't just jump in straight away, because the price really does need to confirm its resistance worthwhile for us to sell at. So if we can see a few more spikes into here and a really nice shift in momentum to the downside, we can be looking at some sales to take this further back down into 0.86200 from here, if we don't see that retracement higher up. But that is our area of preference. Again, risk to reward from there will be looking a lot more healthy as well, but the market might not retrace that, and we do have to acknowledge that. So we'll be looking at this area of resistance and sales from that area there as well. So overall, looking at sales, this area here is at 0.7100 and this area is at 0.7700. So depending where the market does find resistance, we'll be looking for sales, not interested in buys, and send it back down to those daily lows at 0.86200. Okay, so next up we've got pound NZD. So as you can see, pound NZD, big move to the upside this week. We were looking to sell pound NZD because we were coming into this area of support, term resistance now, and looking to see if the market can hold that and sell off again. However, as you can see, big move breaking through that area, and we didn't see much sign that we were holding this area. We tapped into it once, slight retracement, came back in, slight bearish candle, and then we broke through. So no real reaction there to get us into the trade in the first place. But as you can see, we are looking quite bullish right now. So I do believe pound NZD is heading back up to these highs up here. Was our last major support, nice move to the upside before this bearish trend started. We broke through, nice retest, fell to the downside. So I do think with this momentum, we probably will head up and test this area at 1.96600. Then from there we could look to sell it back down, back into this area, and see if we can get a test of that support, because the market is still technically bearish, as in the lower highs and the lower lows are still intact. We've got that high there, lower low, lower high, lower low, sorry. And if we do turn bearish, we could actually see the market come back down here, but we take it one step at a time. So we'll be looking at sales from this area at 1.96600, and then we'll be looking at targets down here. If not, we break through, we might be actually heading back up to these highs, and we can look for a break and retest, see if the market can hold it, and we'll see some nice continuations up into those highs. So jumping down onto the 4H, we'll see what happens at this level here, 9.96600. You can see the market fell to break through this and gave us quite a nice move. So hopefully you can see this momentum continue a little bit, see a nice test of that, see if we struggle to break through, get some nice shorts, and we could be looking for a move back down to that area. Now, as you can see, the risk to reward, if we can get a nice entry down, maybe the 4H or hourly, will be looking very, very healthy. And then if we do hold this, we can look to actually buy it back up again, depending how much movement we do see next week. We can actually be looking at some buys to take this back up again into 1.96600. So yeah, that's the plan for next week for pound NZD, just playing the range of the market between that resistance and that support, which is the prior lower high and the prior lower low, and just simply looking to play that range again with price action and confirmation. So that's the plan for next week, looking for sales at 1.96600 back down into 1.93500, sorry, then looking to buy it back up again. So that's the plan for next week, looking to sell at that resistance and buy at that support. Okay, so now we're going to see what's happening with CAD JPY. So CAD JPY, as you can see on Friday, a massive candle to the downside. If you measure that, that's about 260 pips to the downside. So crazy move there. I did say last week that the market does have a lot of downside room, because I'm looking at a push into this level here. So I did say last week, looking for a push into 89 and then potentially 88 as well. So I did say there's a lot of room to the downside. Again, didn't expect that to happen, or the market to do it within that 1 week, but massive crazy move to the downside this week, and we're still expecting more downside. Overall targets at this level here, this prior resistance at 87,700, so just below 88. I can see the market still pushing into this level, so looking for some retracement next week. Again, we do have this support all the way up there. I'm not too sure if the market will come back and retest that. The market might have a slight pullback. It is in need of a pullback, but it might form its own resistance and then continue to the downside rather than come back and test this level. Unless obviously we see a very weak JPY or strong CAD, then yes, we could see that retracement. And if that does happen, we'll be looking at sales to take it back into 87,800. But like I said, I'm not too sure if I see the market retracing it all the way up there. So we'll have to be on our toes a bit for this one, because we might, like I said, form our own resistance. The market might pull back, form its own resistance, maybe on like the lower time frames, on the hourly or 30-minute. There might be a level price might respect within those candlesticks there, and then we could be looking at sales. So this one you have to be on a bit of the ball. Again, I do live stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I will be talking about CAD JPY to see if that price action does form, and we can look for entries on the live stream. But if we do see a push up into what is that, 89,700 at the bottom of that wick, we could be seeing some nice sales. So that's the plan for next week for CAD JPY. Not interested in buys again, especially after that move. Wanting to see the market retrace. Again, we probably do have some fib confluence around there. Again, 0.5, really nice fib there. So yeah, looking for some retracement back into 89,800 and then set it back down into 87,800 down there. Okay, so next up we've got pound USD. So pound USD, we saw some more continuation to the downside this week. Again, I was looking at this area here of support and resistance, the prior major swing low. I said if we can hold this as support, we'll see some continuation back into this area. However, if we do break through, I'm looking at push back down into 1.33, that next psychological level, and as you can see, we spiked into it. I'm actually starting to hold 1.33 as support, as you can see there on the 4H. So the market might find some support here and continue to the upside and start to see a bit more retracement. We have put some major swings here, and the market might want to start, retracing that. But we do have to acknowledge that pound USD is still very much in a bearish trend here. So we'll be looking at this prior support here on the left, see if we can hold that as resistance. If we do hold that, we most likely will continue to the downside, maybe into that next psychological level at 1.32 or maybe 1.32500. If we do get it back above this, then we can start using that as support to buy back into that resistance and start to see a bit of retracement. Hopefully we can start to see some dollar weakness, because it does look like we might be retracing a little bit on the dollar. So hopefully that could help give pound USD a bit of strength, get back above that level at 1.33600, and we can look for some buys to take it further to the upside. If not, we fail to break through, we most likely will roll over. So dropping into the 4H, you can be looking at some sells here on the lower time frames if we can hold this as resistance. So far we've seen some nice quick rejection there, but I do need to see a little bit more than that to confirm that we are about to roll over. You can look to swing it back down into these prior lows and then push into 1.32. If not, we get above, you can use that as support and see a move to the upside. And we actually did that price action quite recently on pound. If I scroll here to the daily time frame, you can see this area of support here. We broke through, got back above, and actually used that as support. So we broke through the area, got back above it, used that as support, and sort of moved to the upside. So that's what we can be looking at for again, get back above that area and use it as support, then we can see our buys to the upside. Or if we do hold it as resistance, we will roll over. So just looking to play with 1.33600 this week, see how the market reacts to this level. If it does hold a resistance, looking for sales. If we can break above, use it as support, we'll look for buyers back into that prior high at 1.35. So that is the plan next week for pound USD. Okay, so next up we've got pound CAD. So pound CAD, overall we had a bearish bias for this one, looking for a move to the downside this week, coming into this area here. This is our major previous swing high. We came back into it, did see some nice downside. Price, however, on Friday again, massive move to the upside there, spiking back into that previous resistance. So far we're still holding that. We've seen another spike there on the daily. Obviously momentum is quite bullish, but if we can hold into this area, we'll be looking for sales to take this one back to the downside. We still do have to respect that bearish trend and look for a move back down into these lows. However, if we do take out this level, now we'll flip my bias from bearish to bullish, because at that point it does look like the market is putting in this left shoulder, here, the head, and the right shoulder for inverse head and shoulders, and we could be looking at the market, reversing to the upside. We do have a lot of price action here that the market might want to go and retrace and go back into, so that potentially could be underway with that aggressive move, but we do need to break through the neckline, because if we don't, this could actually send us back down to the lows. So again, we can be looking at a bullish market here getting ready to push on, or we could be looking at the bearish market continuing. We all will decide that with how the market reacts with this level at 1.70600. So dropping onto the 4H, you can see we spiked into it again with that candle. If we can hold on to that coming into Monday and we see some more wicks in the market start to turn a little bit bearish, we can look for sales and take it back down into those lows at 1.67500. However, if that momentum continues and we just see price break through, watch what happens on the retest, and if we start holding it, so to confirm that it's not a false break or anything, and if we can hold that as support, the market most likely will push to the upside, and we can actually be looking at some buying opportunities and ride this into the next key level in the market, which is this resistance here. You can see all those wicks down the left at just underneath 1.72, so 1.71800, and look to buy into that range there. However, if we do hold that as resistance, then sales will be looking good. And like I said, you can hold on for the full swing back down to these lows, but it could be some levels within there you could look to take your partials, or look to take your full trade at. But if you can hold on to that level 1.70600, we'll be looking for sales for next week. If we do decide we want to go and break through it, then that's okay. We'll flip our bias to bullish, wait for the retest, and take some buys into 0.71800. So yeah, that is the plan for next week. Just keeping an eye on this level, break through, we'll look for buys, hold, we'll look for sells at 1.70600. And now I want to move on to pound JPY. So pound JPY, nice move to the downside this week, which was expected. I did tell you guys that the market is still showing this bearish structure, so we still do expect the market to roll over to the downside. And overall, I was still expecting some more weakness in the JPY pairs and for some downside. And we really did see some weakness in those JPY pairs towards the end of the week, especially on Friday. So pound JPY for me is still bearish, and I'm still expecting a push into these lows all the way down here. Certainly if the market does keep that momentum up. We're not too far away. As you can see where we are, we're not too far away from this area. You can see we keep spiking to this area demand, 1, 2, 3, massive moves to the upside, and I think we're going to retrace that whole move and come back into 149,500. So looking for sales for the next few days for pound JPY. We do of course have this support here on the left, which we didn't, well, we did retest, but not very strongly. So we can still come back into this area, retest that. We can see just about retest it with that wick, but we can still come back for another retest it again, and then roll over to the downside. So that's mainly what I'm looking at for pound JPY. There is a chance that we might just roll over, so better yet, you might want to drop to lower time frames to look for those retracements. But for me, I still do have targets low for pound JPY, even though we've had that massive collapse. So I'm looking for the market to retrace for us first. Hopefully the first half of the week we can see that retracement back into this area at 152,500, and then we can look to short it for the rest of the week to the downside. So like I said, only interested in sales, not bothered about buys for this one. Still have targets at 149,500. We well could actually break through the level, but just more interested in just getting the shorts into that level in the first place. So bit of retrace this week for pound JPY back up to 152,500, and then from there, if you get confirmations, we'll sell it back down into those lows at 149,500. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to gold. So gold, massive move to the downside this week. As you can see, really big move this week. I was looking for retracement back into this area here to act as support. Was really nice resistance. Was looking for a move to the upside from that. However, as you can see, the market was not interested and broke through that very easily. So gold is coming back into a very key area that I've noticed, which is this trend line here, connecting these major swing lows. So that wick there, this that test as well, and now we're testing for a fourth time. So if we can hold this, I do favor gold pushing to the upside again, coming back into that key level, which I think the market will come back and retest, because you can see we broke underneath it, never got the retest. So I think the market will be drawn to that area at 1832. So we'll be looking at buys for gold if we can obviously stay above that level. We have found some nice support here. As you can see, the market's had 3 attempts to break through this area, 1, 2, 3 failing to do so. So if we can hold this coming into next week, we'll be looking at buying opportunities with the confidence of that trend line back into 1832 for next week. Obviously, we'll be waiting for those confirmations on the lower time frames, and then taking those buys back into 1832. So gold favoring a move to the upside, holding that trend line. We're failing to break through that low there. So if you can confirm that coming into next week, because we did see quite a bearish candle there coming in, so potentially might break it. But if we can hold the trend line, buys will be looking good, and we can take that back into 1832 for next week. And now finally, we've got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin bit downside this week, which was expected. I did say once we take out 60k, which is where we were putting all those major wicks in on the daily, we'll probably head further to the downside now. We used that as resistance, and we did fall to the downside. I did say that if we can get back above that level, we can look for buys to take this higher, but we never did. We rejected that as resistance and fell to the downside. And the target for Bitcoin for the downside was 53k, which is this major swing high there. We formed that major swing low before we gave that big move to the upside. So we're looking at price coming back to retest this area, which is not too far away. So I do think we can roll over, come and test this area, especially with that previous candle's momentum. We could roll over coming back into this area, and if you can find some support there, buys will be looking good, and potentially might even see another swing to some new highs. Maybe this could be the low forming that 100k move. So do be aware of this swing, that price swing high forming a new swing low, and seeing those continuations. So going to the 4H, you can see we're finding some support just higher up, but looking for price to roll over a little bit, come and test that daily level, and then we can be looking for buys at this level here to take that to the upside. So again, wait for the price action. Don't just buy this area just because it's a nice level. We'll wait to see what price is doing at that level, which is around 53k, and then you can take it back into those highs there, and then potentially, if you want to, even further, if you really want to hold that position for the long term. So Bitcoin overall bullish, but we're seeing some downside here. I think we will form that higher low soon at 53k, and from there we can look for some buys to take this one higher, and potentially all the way back to previous swing highs.
Okay, so people, that is the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy that and found that useful. Like always, guys, if you did agree or disagree with my analysis, leave a comment down below, and in fact, if you have any questions as well, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you. If you did enjoy the content, like the video, subscribe, and also hit the bell so you didn't miss out on any uploads in the future. I also live stream during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, so make sure you don't miss that out. But guys, hope you did enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.